hopefully you don't have a political career at some point and somebody somehow digs these up. Because once you go into the funny thing is I don't even have my old MySpace password, but I'm pretty sure if I made any type of political run, somebody is going to have logged into my MySpace, find some like off the wall like post I put up when I was like 14 and angry, and somebody's
Oh yeah,
gonna
I mean
find.
they're gonna find all kinds of dirt on me because I was like I've been through every type of phase that a human could probably be in
Bro,
as a teenager.
I'm not gonna front. Like, this is what you need to do if those videos ever surface. You just need to like embrace it. You need to take like a clip art photo of like one part of it and just put it on t-shirts, and just be like, put like the caption across it, like redeemed or something like that. That'd be great. Um, that's crazy. So, and it's funny that you say that. And so what for you, or what time, I guess, like what year, how old were you when you decided that the Christian lifestyle, the beliefs, your spiritual path, like when did you encounter God, or was it even an encounter? Like how old were you, and what were the circumstances that like brought that to be what it is now?
So it was definitely through the paranormal stuff that I was going through, like, because I'm just trying to find something, that's true about this or false about it. Like, I didn't really even believe in the paranormal stuff until like I was like deep into it. And then by the time I figured out like certain things, I was like, hold up, this doesn't even make sense. Like certain things don't make sense to me. Like, because I've always been very objective thinker. So like I would piece things together. Like they'd be like, don't wear crosses on investigations, like weird stuff. And I'm like, what? And like, I'm a full blown atheist, like during this time, like from like 16 to like 18 for about 2 years there. Like I think like every year or every weekend, just about, we went on some kind of investigation and travel somewhere or whatever. Like a lot of times it was local, but we'd go to like Baltimore or like Pennsylvania or wherever, like surrounding areas. The name of the group was Cecil. Oh, what's going on here?
Keep
Is he
talking, just
back?
keep talking.
Okay.
You're good.
So the name of the group was Cecil and Beyond Paranormal. So Cecil and Beyond Paranormal
That
was
sounds
like
like the hardest emo band I ever heard in my life.
so yeah, Cecil and Beyond Paranormal was a thing like in our town that everybody like knew about during the time that it was up. And it was a couple that like they literally like devoted like a whole section of their lives just for investigating ghosts, because they had like experiences when they were kids or whatever. So like we gravitated onto that. And then from those 2 years, like pretty much my weekends of those 2 years were like disappeared because that's what we did. So um I had an experience where like I seen like a demonic figure, and like it freaked me out. And from that point on, like I was like, if I'm seeing this stuff, like that doesn't make any sense. Like there's got to be some more to this. So I started studying religions and stuff like that, and like figuring out like, is this legit? Is this fake? Like, do people just make stuff up to feel good about themselves, that to lean on a crutch, whatever, like all these different things that I've heard over the years and stuff. And I just started investigating different things. And after I had investigated like a ton of stuff, like I went through Islam, and I went through Buddhism, I went through like um all these different types of religions that people follow across the world. I even studied Satanism, and like trying to figure out like, is this even a thing? Like, just to figure out what sounds even remotely close to what is real in real life that people are experiencing every day. Like, so I got to reading the Bible, and I found this like little girl's Bible that was like something you give a kid at like a baptism or something, you know, like babies that can't even read, you give them like a King James Bible or something back in the day they would do, or something like that. Had like a little kid with a sheep on it or something. So
Nice.
I started reading that in school, and they would have something called SSR. It was like sustained silent reading or something, and they'd like force you to read
I
for
remember that.
15
I remember
minutes.
that in school. Continue.
Yeah, they force you to read for 15 minutes, and I was like, oh, I'm cool. I started reading this book, so I'm cool. Like, you know, whatever. I would
Gotcha.
start reading it, and you know, I'm compiling all this different evidences, like from all the studies that I've learned, like about factual evidence that, you know, they said Jesus was a real person. Like, was he a real person? I'm trying to figure this stuff out, you know.
Hmm.
So I go through Genesis to Revelation and read the entire book in like a month span maybe.
Yeah.
And I was reading it at home and during the school hours, and then at some points I would just completely stop doing schoolwork and just read it. But that's kind of like the beginnings of me coming into faith to be a Christian. And you know, I never fell in line with like the regular denominations and stuff like that. Even to this day, I don't hold to a denomination. I'm not like Catholic or, you know, whatever, Pentecostal or whatever. I can glean from all of them, you know, from what is, you know, factual, from what I've personally taken on, you know, and just my experiences and stuff. But that's pretty much how I came into, you know, a short synopsis without taking up a lot of time of
Gotcha.
how I became into my faith. So
Okay. So fast forward a little bit, you're saved, you're going to church, you and your lady are going to church. Um, and then you start hearing these beats over the announcements at church. And you happen to just kind of seek me out, which was funny. I still don't know how God worked all that out. But talk about like how we met, man. I guess like what through your end of the story, and we'll both like kind of go off, but talk a little bit about like before I guess we met, and like I don't know, like just kind of like give like your little story about that.
so before we met, I was pretty much, my weekends had switched from paranormal activity to, you know, worship nights and, you know, reading the Bible and stuff like that with my friends. And the two of my friends were Robert, who goes by Scooter,
I
and
call him Scooter.
Mike.
He's always
Yeah,
fat Scooter.
yep, and Mike and his kids. And so we would all meet at Mike's house, and then from time to time we'd have other people. The pastor might come a time, you know, somebody else, an elder or somebody might come, whatever. And we would just have these meetings where there was no rules, there was no set thing we were going to do. We were just going to, you know, read and talk about it, and, you know, just chop up anything that we felt like talking about, just like now. And we would, you know, break down words in the Hebrew and Greek and whatever. And, you know, and then we would just have entire times where we just worshiped and prayed for like the entire time until like 3 in the morning or whatever, and be like, oh, now I have to get home because my wife's about to kill me because I've been out all night. So that was around, like right around the time when I met you. That's like where I was at in my headspace.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point I had been a Christian for years, but I was like, you know, now filling my time with things that I thought were beneficial for me instead of doing all that other stuff. And I wasn't doing like hard crazy stuff, but I was, you know, just, my thinking was like literally just trying to figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm meeting you, I'm like in church, just showing up. Like I had my own space, and like I just literally, like I didn't want to look at people when I went to church. I just wanted to like go to the front and have my own spot and just focus on what I should be focusing on. At least that's what I thought, you know. I need to focus on God. That's why I'm here. I'm not worried about y'all and your chatter.
Gotcha.
So I would show up and do that, and then like I would start showing up early before services would start, and then I'm like hearing like beats on the announcements like up on the screen. I'm like, who is that? I'm like, who made that beat? I'm like, I need to find this person now. Like so I started like asking people, like I literally went to like three or four people and was like, who made these beats? Like, and somebody was like, oh, they would know. And they like pointed me into the direction of Rose, who did like the sound and everything then. And I was like, yeah, like who made these beats? They said you could tell me. I need to know now. So she was like, oh, Jordan makes them. And I'm like, that dude that got knocked out in the spirit that one time? They're like, oh yeah. Oh, so I'm like, okay. So I went over to like the next service, and I was like, hey dude, I heard you make those beats. They're pretty awesome. And you're like, what? You're like, oh, thanks. And then like pretty much from that point on, we just like started talking periodically. And at one point in time, I don't even remember how it happened, but I was like laying down in bed, and I had already been making beats and writing to stuff again myself, because long story short, I was working for an auto glass company, Mobile, at the time, and driving all over the place, and would be on these ridiculous drives sometimes just to do one job. So I'm trying to figure out a way to stay awake so that I can literally not fall asleep while I'm driving. So I just start freestyling about the randomest stuff as I'm driving. Like, I'm out in the fields, bro, like no internet at all. Like, I would download pre-downloaded beats onto my phone from YouTube or something and just be freestyling about cows eating grass and like the stop sign a mile on my left and whatever, you know, up here, this guy stopping at the stop sign, whatever. Like, I would just be freestyling about the randomest stuff, or like about the guy's name on the ticket that I'm about to go to his house. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Like, I would just freestyle about the randomest things. So that's how I started getting back into hip hop, because I always listened to hip hop. I always been like a part of the culture in a way, but like never thought I could do anything with it. But then I was like, you know what? I'm actually pretty decent. Like, I should maybe just do something. So I was like, wasn't too sure of myself. But then you hit me up with a beat one day, and I just remember I wrote to it, and I still never released the song because I didn't.
Yeah, you're trash for that.
I didn't like the quality. I didn't like the quality of it. I don't know. I feel bad sometimes when I release things, and I'm like, but I just need to start just dropping stuff, because I haven't dropped anything like in a long time. But most of my stuff's been beats. But yeah, dude, that's how I got back into hip hop. Pretty much was like, what solidified it for me was when I was laying in bed like super depressed one day, and you randomly hit me up. Like, we weren't even really talking at the time. Like, we just had each other's numbers from like Friday night prayers or something, you know? And you hit me up with a beat, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. I'm like literally just laying here like depressed. And as soon as that beat hit me, I was like, it was like gone. Like, I was like, yo, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this right here, I don't even have to be doing it as a job. I don't have to do it for whatever. I just know that personally, I need this in my life. I need to be creative and make something of it, whatever that looks like. So that was like what solidified it for me, was like that beat that day. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. So from there on, it's just been just a journey of continuing to do what I love. So
yeah, man. One of the things I remember when we first met, and going back to the Friday night prayers, we had like, I think it was like the like men's group we had a unofficial men's group. It wasn't even like a community group. Friday nights we used to meet at the church like late at night. I think we would get there like 7, but depending on like what we were doing, we would get out of there like sometimes 11. I think the latest we got out of there was like 12 one time at the church. And
Yeah, we would be out there late, bro.
yeah, bro, it was wild.
At the
But
church itself, not at somebody's house.
yeah, you feel me? But we were there with the pastor though, so it was cool. You feel me? It wasn't that weird.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time you and me hung out like one-on-one, like not without Mackley and without Scooter. We matter of fact, it was Easter. It was that's what it was. I don't know if you remember, it was Easter like 4 years ago. Reason I remember is because I went home real quick to pack my gear up, and I went up to your house, and this is like I said, the first time we ever hanging out like one-on-one. But once we like actually record, it was funny, and then we talk about this all the time. But when like I think like it took you like 2 takes for like the beat, because it was that Arnold beat, the Arnold sample.
Oh yeah.
It probably took, when I say like as far as like production wise, because it took like my interface and everything, I had to warm up my mic and everything like that. It probably took 40 minutes of time altogether. And then that was my stomach. But we end up just like talking till like maybe think like 12 o'clock at night. But I got at your house at like 2. And I think your wife passively aggressively was like, all right, we ain't gotta go home. But yeah, I kind of want to hang out with my husband. Like I'm super happy that you're here and everything, but like she was just like, isn't it late? Like, don't you need to get home or something like that? I don't know. But we were talking until like maybe 11. I know I got over there maybe around like 2 or so. So, but I thought that was just so beautiful about like our friendship and everything like that. Like like I said, coming from completely different backgrounds, um, having like this genre and this culture where we like connected. It's funny that like I would have thought that like, it's funny that you say that. It's funny, I would have thought that us, going to the same church and having the same beliefs probably would have solidified us, but it was hip hop.
Yeah.
And it's always been a beautiful thing for me as far as hip hop goes, because it's super diverse. Like it started off in New York, back in the 80s, rhythmic American poetry, that's what rap stands for. But it just spread like wildfire and touched in different places. And I just thought that was always super cool, man. Like I still tell people all the time. I'm like, bro, I mean, like, yeah, I met him in church, but it was hip hop that like we both were adopted by hip hop, and that's what like kind of made us into brothers. I think probably between both you and me, we probably like, if not made, we probably sent each other enough beats to make like 10 mixtapes.
That we never use either.
That we never use.
Yeah, we have so many beats and songs that are like unreleased that I don't know. I know about me. I'm super picky about what I release unless it's like a challenge or something. Like if it's like a Instagram challenge, like I'll just be like, whatever, or like a contest thing or something. But when it comes to releasing a song, like I've never actually had the guts to release a legit song yet, just because I'm still trying to focus on my craft and make sure that it's the quality that I want it to be. Because they say the first time that somebody sees you or notices your stuff, it's like that's what they remember you as, and it's like, yeah, I don't know.
I get that. Man, I remember because I used to rap during like the back in high school. We used to have like these poetry slams. I used to be on my Smack White from URL. I used to host like these like rap battles by the elevator. I'm so serious. Like I used to host these like rap battles up in Edgewood at the time. we used to be like, it was the third floor elevator. I would remember it because it had like the widest space, and we would have one rapper over here, the other rapper over here, and I'm over here with my drumsticks, and I'm doing the beats and going crazy, having people rapping everything. I'm so serious. Like this is like what I used to do.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like hip hop for me has always like kind of helped me break the ice with people, because it wasn't band camp, it wasn't athletics, it wasn't like video games either, like all these other like different avenues and cultures. It was hip hop that kind of like helped me break the ice with different people. And I definitely remember when I released my first song, like when you were talking about um the first time somebody sees you, that's pretty much all they remember you by. I remember, and it's funny, you and me were telling each other this, and you were kind of like pushing me, which is kind of funny because a lot of people don't know this. um my man Glass, he just got into hip hop maybe about, when I say like as far as like producing and making it, I want to say what, 3 years now. Like you've actually been like making your own music, and you
Yeah,
started from a,
2017. Yep.
yeah, and you started from an iPhone of all things.
Yep.
And once, and you caught the bug, man. It's just like every time I describe it to everybody else, yo, I mean, you caught the bug, because I remember like you told me, I mean, you mentioned you used to like write music growing up and everything like that, but you were like, dude, where can I make beats? Like, what's the best idea for like, as far as like just getting started? I was like, bro, get iMachine. What are you talking about? And you were like, huh? And I was like, yo, it's an app. It's like a $9 app on your iPhone. And I it was funny because I think I had a girlfriend at the time when you were like just got started, and my phone would be getting blown up from you because you were like, bro, I made another beat. I made another beat. Yo, this is so easy. I finally realized like why you have so much fun doing this. Going from iPhone, getting started on your iPhone. And I remember this because we were supposed to hang out and record and like get some stuff done. Something traumatic happened to you, dude. You got robbed for your gear. Like you got jacked with like, you lost like all these like beats and stuff after getting started and everything. Talk a little bit about that, and like how, and tell, I mean, we never really talked about it either, but like tell the like people what made you keep going and keep making music. Because I've had like my iPad stolen where I had like plenty of beats I will never see again, and I think they're probably one of my best works. I've had computers go bad on me, but I'm still like keep making music. What like motivated you to keep going on after getting robbed for all your stuff? And talk a little bit about like that day in general for you.
Yeah, I mean, well, that day was horrible. First of all, not only because of that, I just had way too much stuff happen. Like, I had gotten a car accident in my van for my work. Then after, you go through the whole thing with the police and everything, then you leave. Then I go start doing my jobs for the day, putting in auto glass. That's how I got my name. So as I'm going to put in auto glass, I'm like going throughout the day. I get like 2 jobs done. Starts raining, people are canceling, you know. Then I go into the city in Wilmington where I did a lot of work in the city in Wilmington. And I go into the city, go do a job for Amtrak, which was crazy in and of itself because they were unorganized that day and everything. And I get up in there, they pull a vehicle inside of like this old abandoned building for me to start working on. I get a call from somebody who's suicidal. Then I'm trying to work on this car. As I'm working on the car, the freaking roof of the building starts caving in and dripping water all over the freaking
That's
car.
wild.
And like everything that could possibly go wrong that day was going wrong. Then I leave that job after not being able to put the windshield in properly because the roof was caving in and pieces falling and water dripping everywhere. It was crazy. And then after that happens, I'm leaving the site. I'm at a red light, and some lady comes up to my passenger side door, and she's like, knocks on the window. So I crack it just a little bit. she's like, hey, you got a couple dollars? And I'm like, I don't, because I really didn't. I was like, no, but I got some bottles of water. I mean, if you want a bottle of water or Gatorade or something, you can have one. But other than that, I gotta go. I'm like, I'm trying to get out of here. So she's like, all right, whatever. And she walks away. So I look forward, green light, go. You know what I mean? My passenger door flings open. And this is a work van, so it's not like it's like a beat up work van. It didn't have the auto lock on it like the van I had previous did, because that one broke down. So I got a new van. Lady flings the door open as I'm driving, coming around the corner. She's wiggle worming up in there.
Mm.
At some point in this process, she jacks my phone as she closes the door with me not paying attention. She thinks I'm like recording her or something. It was my GPS. She was like high on crack or something, because she dropped crack rocks in my truck. I found out after she
might have been a
it.
geologist. Who knows?
Yeah. You can say that. I mean, no hard feelings to the lady. Has been over forever, but it's just like, it was a terrible day. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, and I'm driving away. I go to call my wife. I don't have a phone to call my wife. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm like driving home, and then I'm like thinking, okay, so this is a brand new iPhone at the time. It was the iPhone 6 when that happened. And so, oh yeah,
4 years ago?
Yeah, so 2017 was actually when I bought my like legit equipment. This was probably like 2016, I think, when that happened. And I was already writing songs and, freestyling and everything to your beats back then. So yeah, that was about 2016. So when that happened, I'm like driving home and I'm thinking like, man, like I can't call my wife and whatever. And I start thinking, dude, all those beats I made on my phone are gone. And then I'm like, dude, all those songs I wrote are gone. And I like legit had like probably 8 entire songs that I had written that I was going to record at your house, because you were the only person I knew with recording equipment. So I'm like thinking, well, now I can't do that. And then I was like, you know what? I was supposed to go to Jordan's house today to record. I'm like, man. So I was just like all bent out of shape. And, it did definitely take a toll on me when that happened, just because it was like I actually thought that I was making some progress and getting somewhere with what I was doing, at least for my personal goals. And then it like kind of put a damper on me for about a couple months there. But I never let it like stop me from I never have been so discouraged that I quit, just because I've never really quit like that in just about anything. Like, as a skateboarder, I would just continually do the same trick and eat dirt for hours and days until I landed a trick. Like that's what I equated it to with rap and with hip hop. Like, I'm not going to give up because somebody jacked my phone. I'm just going to figure out a way to get some money so that I can do it again in some other fashion and make it better than what it was before. So I ended up like thinking on it for like almost like 6 months, and I was going to go to school for like Full Sail or something like that, and I just didn't have the means to do it. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to like empty out my 401k and just get everything I need. So I like priced everything out, got all the stuff I needed, and I was like, you know what, I can do this. I don't have to travel to go to people's houses to record. I don't have to, get my stuff stolen just because it's my phone is the only source of, software and stuff that I have that I can use. So that's kind of like what it actually propelled me into it, as opposed to like pushing me away. And that's kind of been a common trait that I've had throughout my entire life. Like, actually, when I get opposition is when I most want to do it more. I don't know if it's because I'm rebellious or what, but when like something or circumstances or whatever tell me that I can't do something, like I feel like No, I'm pretty sure I could do that. Like,
Gotcha. So, so fast forwarding a little bit, you're kind of building your identity as a musician. You I can't remember exactly what you went by before as far as your moniker goes, but what made you like what happened for you, or like what was it that made you pick the name Glassman?
so yeah, I didn't have one before. Like, I went through a bunch of different ones, like that me and you had talked about, like over the years, like just from me rapping, and you'd be like, "Yo, you need this name or this name," and I was like, I don't really, know what to call myself. Like all that, like I don't want to be like MC Matt or something weird. Like I'm like that's like whack. Like I'm not trying to
Mm-hmm.
be weird. So I was actually having a really hard day at work, and at that company doing glass that I was working for, and man, that like they were constantly putting so many jobs on me, and I was like being overwhelmed every day, and like you get in trouble for little weird things and stuff, and I was having that happen to me on a consistent basis. So like I'm like in my mind, I'm writing songs as I'm putting in windshields. I'm making beats in my head while I'm putting in windshields. I'm listening to like my favorite artists while I'm putting in windshields. So like it's not far from my mind throughout the day. You know what I mean? There's like three things that are on my mind like almost continuously is my wife, God, and music. And that's like the things that I think about. You know what I mean? That's whatever it is, that's what I'm thinking about all the time. So I'm doing these jobs and I'm like thinking of like what can I name myself like that would be something that's original. And I'm going through like a whole list that I used to make band names for other people. Like I would make lists of band names for people or lists of business names or whatever of a business I want to make in the future or whatever. So like I'm thinking of names of like a rapper and I'm like whack, 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 like going down the list. And I'm like, what would I not want to name myself? And at that time, I had like a disdain for the company I was working for, like completely like felt disgusted working there anymore. And I'm like, you know what I don't want to call myself? I was like, I would never want anybody to be like, yo, Glass Man. And I was like, hold on, that's pretty fire. And then
Hey yo.
from that point in time, I just like legitimately was like, I'm just gonna go by Glassman because who else is out here rapping and making beats that they can say like is doing that that's in this industry? Because a lot of people can't hack it in the glass industry, and it's really, I mean, it's a really difficult, weird field to be in. Like it's only really rough dudes are doing that stuff, and I'm one of the few people that has some sort of like, at least where I'm from, has integrity doing that stuff. Because a lot of dudes will be just slinging glass and they're like not even caring about stuff. So I was like,
Slinging
you know what?
glass
Yeah, that's
like
that's the
Walter
term I
White.
use.
I would have
Slanging
thought,
glass.
you know what the funny thing is? Like, I was like, as you said, Glass Man. Like, I remember when you first told me, I was like, bro, you should like, I was thinking you should use like a spin off from like Breaking Bad, how my man was slinging glass everywhere. But then I was also like, I don't know, because it's kind of associated with like drug trafficking and stuff. It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
name your name, to have your moniker after like something that's derived from drug culture. But I mean, that's kind of cool how you like you end up coming to that, because